23 years old. You go and find out for yourself. You're not waiting on ABC, CNN, CBS, any of these guys. You go ask questions. After asking questions yesterday, I believe was it HHS, Rob, that came out yesterday? If I'm not mistaken, they came out yesterday and they stopped $185 million of funding to Minneapolis.
Yeah, big W's all around, dude. Big W's all around. Also, it's pretty funny that this guy is talking about, I mean, his entire operation, his entire business is comprised around conducting a multi-level marketing operation. So
allegedly, was it today that CNN came after you, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, today they put a hit piece out on me.
And when did they interview? When did CNN come and interview?
Yesterday.
Yesterday they did.
Yesterday I showed up at Quality Leering Center.
Is this the one?
Yes.
So this is you. You show up. You're in Minnesota yesterday.
Yes.
At the Quality Leering Center. We got to say it correctly. By the way, his sweater he's got on. If you guys want to purchase the sweater, we're going to put the link below as well.
Yeah, he immediately made a fake sweater. I mean, he's just grifting the off of this. Journalism, by the way. How long till hogs demand general inspection at daycares? Photo evidence of what exactly? Brother, they already did do that in Ohio. They did do that already. Obviously, it never got like fully implemented, but that was unironically in the books, okay? If there's any suspicion that there is a trans athlete on the opposing team, you can demand a genital inspection, or, you know, you can demand proof that the student is actually not trans.
For you doing their work. When they first came up to you, were they friendly? Were they nice to you? What was the approach that they took?
Yeah,
that's $9,736 per child just for the state of Minnesota for childcare. I believe they said that that's over the span of a decade, so that's barely $900 a year. I mean, yeah, you're paying for people, you're paying for the staff, you're paying for the food. It's subsidizing a lot of.
Lady came up to me very friendly, and then she kept asking me these questions. I'm like, ma'am, you're defending fraud. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the issue wasn't what time I showed up to the daycare. The issue.
Dog, if I went up to your home and with a camera and a security team and put a camera out on you and said, hey, I demand to see the children inside of your house. I believe you're a pedophile. You said, I'm not a pedophile. Off and slammed the door in my face. This all of a sudden became a major news story about your pedophilia, okay? And everyone was like, nah, that seems really suspicious that you said you're not a pedophile. Statistically speaking, white men are more likely to be pedophiles than any other group in this country. You're a white man. We're just going to assume that you're a pedophile. And then the next day someone was like, hey, where did you get the evidence that this guy's a pedophile? I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, you're interfering in a pedophilia investigation. Why do you actually want pedophilia to continue? Obviously, the story is now about your inconsistent standards of reporting. Like, you can't do the, oh, I guess you love fraud then, counter narrative here. You know, you can't just be like, oh, you're questioning my reporting, my quote unquote reporting on this. Well, I guess you love fraud then, because all I was doing is trying to uncover fraud. Okay, no, you weren't doing that though. That's kind of the whole point of contention here.
Giving $1.9 million, and it's not even operating. And they're showing face right now while they're literally shuffling in kids, while the commissioner of children is saying the daycare was closed last week.
That's pretty wild. Okay, so play this clip, Rob. Go ahead.
From CNN, can we talk to you? This is MAGA YouTuber.
Why are we giving millions to schools? I've been outside one all day, Hasi. Let's stop giving them our taxpayer money. Yeah, what the hell? I went outside to this public school and there were no children there. I kept demanding to see the children at this public school. Here's a note that I found from the local right-wing weirdo that tells me this public school is funded by, get this, your property taxes. Why are we giving property taxes to this public school where they won't let me ogle the kids? We shouldn't even be joking about this. I just realized that's probably the next meta. Like, once they unironically destroy the welfare structure, they will inevitably also continue demanding to remove any sort of funding initiative from the public schools anyway. And then they're just going to do that. They're going to be like, actually, public schools are fake too. They're fake and gay. R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. You would have loved dehumanizing Somali Americans.
Shirley,
YouTuber.
back at a daycare in Minnesota, he alleged was a fraudulent facility in a now viral video.
People are going to say this is a left or right issue, but no, fraud is fraud.
Bro, I'm sorry. Like 2017, 2018, when this kind of story would happen, most people were like, yeah, that's a little gross. Like the entirety of the right-wing ecosystem didn't automatically jump on the Pizzagate QAnon. Okay. They kind of were a little ashamed of it. They would just like kind of sidestep it. They would just like push them aside. And it is so different now. The media landscape is so different now. Now everyone is doing their own Pizzagate. It's crazy. Do you think it will backfire? No, I think it's going to get worse. I don't think it's going to backfire at all because the reception to this like bottom of the barrel QAnon style conspiratorial, supposed quote unquote investigative reporting, getting highlighted by the vice president and getting tremendous amounts of praise, all the way from, like I said, the vice president down to Atriok, who was apparently giving it damning with faint praise, shows me that in the media landscape that we're in, it's only going to get worse, especially because for things to get better, there needs to be an investment in redeveloping consensus reality. And I don't think we have that investment. I don't think anybody is even remotely interested in developing consensus reality nowadays. I think we're just done. I think the insane people are running the asylum, especially with like AI. I think a lot of people are going to be less interested in politics. They're just going to say like, oh, this sucks. Like, I don't want to see it. Like intelligent people that should be invested in this and should try to put us on a better trajectory will probably increasingly tap out of it. They'll quit, especially privileged people will do that. Those who don't have the same privilege will obviously be invested in it, and it'll be, you know, insert whichever minority group, right? Today it's Somalis. Tomorrow it'll be someone else. But I do think that we are moving in the direction of permanent mass slopification, unless somehow Elon Musk's entire net worth craters and he can no longer own Twitter or something, and then people demand their initial investments back, or they demand to pull out, like other people who aided in the purchase of Twitter, which is Saudi Arabia, so that's not very likely. And then because like Twitter is a big part of where this is coming from, you know what I mean? It does obviously still have the capacity to change discourse, change the trajectory of discourse. It's nowhere near as powerful or as influential as it once was. Dude, nobody I know uses Twitter. That's fine. But like $180 million in grants from the federal government was just revoked from the entire state of Minnesota. And that happened partially because Elon Musk base boosted the out of this dumbass YouTube video. So that is a Twitter intervening in real life affairs almost single-handedly in the direction of like one psychotic billionaire racist and his own personal desires. So yeah, you don't have a lot of friends that are on Twitter. That makes sense. I think it's like what, 20% or something like that, maybe even lower than that now. Out of all the social media platforms, it's not the most popular, but it's still a large enough social media platform. It's still a large enough social media platform that it actually, and especially because it's one that is interconnected with all the other social media platforms, that like discourse that pops off on Twitter ends up making its way to Reddit, ends up making its way to TikTok, ends up making its way to your friends that don't use Twitter. Reddit is another one of these websites that's also obviously heavily botted and heavily influenced by people who can brigade and like that. But this is yet another great indication that Twitter does have the capacity to intervene in real life affairs. Trump administration is freezing federal child care funds to all states now. Yesterday it was just Minnesota. Now it's all states.
And so I'm not out here trying to put a twist on things.
Shirley's viral video, released over the weekend, in which he says he's uncovering tens of millions of dollars in fraud at Minneapolis daycares run by the Somali community, was retweeted by Elon.
Like, what do you think is going to happen here? Affordability is a major problem. Now the government is shutting down one of the elements of affordability in childcare for all of these like new parents and that are working class. On top of that, healthcare premiums are going to triple. What do you think is going to happen? Eventually, the dam is going to break. People are going to feel the pain. They're already feeling the pain, and it's only going to worsen. There's only so many minority groups that you can throw under the bus in an effort to shift people's attention away from your own ineptitude, right? That's it. What happens then? This is precisely the reason why I get really frustrated with people who claim that they are invested in like healthcare for all, or claim that they actually care about taxing the rich, and they present themselves as like left on those positions, but then spend 99.9% of their time talking about how undocumented migrants are responsible for everything. Well, you clearly don't care about it then, because you're using the current government that you support and their lack of interest in fixing any of these problems, and they're using their own personal distraction mechanism to foment hatred against marginalized groups and to redirect people's attention away from their financial circumstances back to the anger and resentment that they feel towards random people. If you were serious, if you were genuinely invested in fixing any of these problems, you'd be calling the administration to account all the time. You'd be criticizing the admin, asking why they're so assholes of the super wealthy and defending the interests of the super wealthy, but you don't.
J.D. Vance. In the video, Shirley tries to open locked doors and talk to people at various daycares he claims are frauds.
Did you come during their normal operating hours when you came to visit?
I came at 11 a.m., I believe, and I also came the following day later in the day. The point of it is not whether or not I came at the right time of their operation hours. The point is that blacked out doors, they can't give you any information. You call that number, no one answers.
They got blacked out doors at the daycare facility. I wonder why they don't make it easier for a guy like me to see children inside. It's really up. I need to see the kids. If I don't see the kids, then it must be fraud. Freak.
I wasn't trying to go inside, and there should be a way for somebody to actually be able to call that number and somebody be able to answer. These aren't real businesses.
But surely you don't think a daycare should just be unlocked. You shouldn't be able to just walk into a
There
daycare.
should be a reception.
No, every daycare is locked.
Their doors are locked.
And so, okay, you bring up a fair point. Then why can't they actually give me information how to enroll a child?
Federal law enforcement has been investigating fraud in Minnesota for several years. Both Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel said on social media they've indicted dozens of defendants. DHS has posted multiple videos of agents they say are conducting a massive fraud investigation.
Do you think that federal law enforcement hasn't done enough? I mean, they would say, look, these fraud cases have been going on, but they've already done like 80 indictments. The cases have been going on.
So funny. They're defending
for
Trump
years.
And why did I show up one day in Minnesota?
No, you idiot. They're defending the rule of law. These investigations were not conducted under Donald Trump. You're so stupid, Patrick. At least the guy in front of you genuinely does have like I'm trying so hard to just like use a fancy term for saying he's intellectually stunted or has a intellectual disability, but like he does, right? You, on the other hand, Patrick, are a adult. You've done your own schemes growing up. Yeah, medically stupid. That's what I'm going to keep saying.
You went back to Minnesota because you just told me that you're working on a part 2 yourself.
Yeah, because there's a lot more fraud.
How much more did you find?
Oh, we found a lot more businesses that don't exist. There's millions of dollars. We found a lot more. We found daycares with more $1 million daycares. I mean, there's literally hundreds of daycares receiving millions of dollars in Minnesota at this moment as we speak.
So from the first one, you guys were over $100 million of fraud that you found, right?
This guy's the
With the
daycare
second
annihilator,
one, now
bro. He's like, this is like when a content creator hits like a really good bit, like a TikToker or something, and then they just keep pressing that button over and over, and then the bit runs stale, but they still do it. But this time it's like racialized agitprop. He's just like, he's gonna be the guy, the daycare annihilator, it seems.
On the other side, while you're doing this, what caused you, and we see this man named David, right? We keep seeing this man named David, who I think yesterday, he said, if you want to, I'll put $100,000 for anybody that can prove any of this wrong because this is government document. How did you and David, Rob, is this the clip where he says that?
Yep.
Do you want to play this clip of David?
No, don't call any parents.
Yo, who the is David? Why is nobody asking the question, who's this David guy, by the way? Who's this old ass man who is now apparently wearing your merch that you made?
Anybody want to take me up? You $100,000 if you can.
$100,000.
If you can disprove my information.
Okay, so give me a copy of what you have, and I can
If you can disprove my information.
100,000. Give it here.
100,000. 100,000. Page by page.
Keep going page by page. Keep going. Come on, girl. Just keep your video on it.
Okay.
And just
Except they did disprove it. They did. There's children in that daycare facility right now. Give him $100,000 then.
I just opened David's, and he had all the proof because I've known about the fraud happening for so long in Minnesota since back in June. I've known about the fraud, but it's hard for me to go out and get all the information because they make it very hard to get the information. luckily David had somebody inside the Capitol who's been leaking him all the numbers, leaking him all the information.
Somebody from the Capitol.
Yes.
In Minnesota.
Yes. So all the numbers that David has are 100% correct, and also they're on the state. Also, they're from the government.
Brother, that's just the total amount of subsidies that they've gotten from the state. That's not evidence that there's no recipients of said subsidies at these daycares. What is going on? The argument isn't that these places are getting state subsidies. The argument is on helping parents, low-income parents, put their kids in childcare facilities. That there are no children at all at these facilities is all fake. That's the argument that you made. How are you forgetting your own argument?
Here in the state of Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis, explain to me what's going on with the daycares.
So one of the things that I've noticed is there's an exceptional number of child care centers that are set up mostly in Minneapolis, but also in St. Paul. And I said, wow, how many kids are there in the Twin Cities? Some of them are by my office, and I would watch, and I said, well, there aren't any kids there. And I'd go to another one, there aren't any kids there, and I'd see just some Somali guys outside smoking cigarettes. So I stopped at one of them, and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, I've got a grandson who's looking for childcare, and I wonder if this might be a good facility. And they said, no, we're all full. And they had the door open, and I looked, and there were no kids. There was like a couch and a table with a couple chairs. And I said, well, are the kids out back playing, or what kind of place is this? And the guy said, you go. And he almost pushed me out the door, and then he followed me down the street to my car. And
David was like, I must see the kids. I must see Somali children. I need to see it. And then that's it. That's what sparked his interest, his curiosity. He's like, where are the children? Why can't I see any children? This is the guy.
Is that true? That genetics is, that's genetics right there? Is that mom?
Yes, that's my mom.
So now, good for you. You got great genes. You know, she's very comfortable doing this as well. Very cool. So the largest fraud in the world.
Patrick's gonna your mom, Nick. Watch out, Nick. He said, unbelievable.
Bottom of this. So you and David get linked up, and then you just said, why don't we just go interview? That's kind of how it started.
Yeah, I thought when we go, like, we'll walk to these daycares, we'll talk to them. But the first daycare we go to, all the windows are blacked out. And I try to open the door.
Brother, because of people like you, they do not want peeping Toms. What the is this? I think the other part of this is that, like, this dude has never seen like a low income childcare facility in general. A childcare facility in like a low income neighborhood. Like, it's not gonna look great. I'm gonna be honest. Like, they don't get a lot of funds. Well, they're getting no funds now. Shouts out your bitch ass for that. That don't look like the Four Seasons, okay?
And how much money are they getting?
This one together over the past few years, they have it right there. But combined,
million?
They received over $5 million.
Stop it.
Just that one building alone.
And so what is the business model? Somebody just stays there all day, no kids, and they just take the cash?
Yeah, that's why all the windows are all boarded up, or why they're all blacked out.
Now, let me ask you, Nick. There was a.
Why are you asking this idiot? He doesn't know anything. This guy's making money from destroying childcare for the entire country. How does this not result in a pogrom of content creators? Because everyone's stupid. And it's much easier for them to hate on random Somali people than it is to be like, that's crazy that this insane bottom of the barrel slop propaganda and the mass hysteria that it caused allowed the government to do something that they've always wanted to do without any sort of scrutiny whatsoever, which is to eradicate payments for childcare subsidies.
And then they're just leaving after a few minutes of being inside the daycare. And I don't know if this is the same video where it shows the guy giving the cash to the ladies working.
Do you have the audio in there? So there is one that says they're showing that.
Oh, there it is.
From that same case,
he's handing
shows
the cash.
A man handing out envelopes of what are believed to be kickback payments to parents who are in on the fraud.
Where was the money going?
I don't know exactly where it went, but
I'm so confused. Okay. Notice how they have surveillance footage for this? I suspect it came in the aftermath of a concluded fraud investigation. I don't know the details of this, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like fraud never happens. But how is that in any way, shape, or form related to the current thing that's going on? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, this is evidence from a 2015 incident that I guess finalized, like the court ended up convicting and charging people in 2019, maybe? I don't know. If it even is a real instance, like I don't even understand.
Just the millions of dollars. And if you talk about why they're just giving them cash, it's because the money they receive is tax exempt, CCAP funding, and then these women that are working inside these daycares, they're not. my assumption is that they're not actually on payroll, and that's why 81% of the Somali population is on welfare inside the state of Minnesota, is because they don't actually receive a W-2 or 10.
Oh my God. This is, bro, he's just like, he's not even hiding that he's just making shit up as he's going along. And I suspect he didn't come up with this on the spot. Let's be real. He's too stupid. He's half remembering something that someone told him to say. But it is wild. That's great. I guess, you know, we have to operate off of the whims of Nick Shirley and what he can and can't remember about what, like, David told him.
99, whatever it would be, to claim that they're actually receiving an income. Because if you're running a daycare of $1 million, you should be able to pay your person a salary of at least $50,000. You know what I mean?
But none of that is documented.
No, not that I know of. Because it doesn't make sense why there's so many people on welfare if they're making millions of dollars.
If you have any questions and you want to...
Does this guy think all the funds that are coming to the daycare are going directly to staffing? And does he think that every single Somali person just works in a daycare? What the is this argument? Also, if every Somali is staying at home and is on welfare, why the do they need to put their children in the daycare? Oh, wait, they're not.
Don Jr. had you on, I think, last night. You were on a show last night with him. People simply want to see if anyone's going to be held accountable or not going into 2026. Do you think with the work you're doing, you're almost forcing them to have to make a decision of people getting arrested? And if that, have you started seeing people getting arrested? Like when you went to Minnesota, did you see the government there as well?
Yes.
Going knocking on doors?
Yeah, and that was directly because of my YouTube video. And because of the video that went viral on X. So when have you ever seen a piece from a journalist, from a YouTuber, that's created such a change where literally within hours...
I want to die, bro. Once again, there is an active investigation for the last 3 years. There is an active investigation.
What did they
do? I love the federal government. Whenever they have to shoot these videos, it's always so funny because they look so incompetent. Everything reminds me of them kicking the snow, looking for the Brown University shooter. This video is hilarious. They're just like walking into random business and being like, are you guys doing fraud here? And the guy's like, no. And they're like, okay, have a nice day.
What would you say to Nick Shirley, the YouTuber, if he was standing in front of you right now?
I have nothing against him himself, but I do have something against the rhetoric. It's if you're gonna be a journalist, just have a moral compass. Like do what you do correctly. If you catch business that are fraud, no one here is with that, or like we don't support that as a community. I don't support that myself. I was born and raised here. I'm not for fraud. Like the notion that hey, a certain batch of somebody got caught, so all of them support it. It's like no one. If in any community, any mishaps that happen, the rest of the community obviously doesn't want that to happen. It's a stain on all of our names, as you guys can see. We don't want that to happen. We don't take part in that. We don't like that. We don't want that in our communities. But just to say, hey, a certain company got caught, so they must all do it, and I feel like that's what he's doing.
89%, buddy.
I'm not a fan of it.
2 to 10 p.m. may not be your typical daycare.
What do you mean 89%? What is he saying? Is he saying 89% of Somalis are doing fraud? They're 1350ing Somalians? They're not. They're 1389ing Somalis. 89% of Somalis are on welfare? I don't even know if that number is correct, if that percentage is correct. But what doesn't make any sense here is that even if it was, which I don't think it is, what the does that have to do with fraud? Yeah, 89% of Somalis are on welfare and the remaining 11% are running fraudulent child care centers.
Earliest dismissal would be 2:15 to 2:30ish, and the latest dismissal would be up to like 4:30ish.
You said you were there 11 and 5.
So our kids come to us.
That's what you
we
said.
Don't have
yeah,
anyone
visited this guy.
I went at 11 in the morning, and then I went back the next day at a later time. And
the later time was 1 p.m., by the way. But he knows it was at 1 p.m., which was before they started their business. And that's precisely the reason why he doesn't want to say it. So yeah, even though he is a idiot, at least he's smart enough to not say the time. But Patrick Bet David probably won't ask him what time it was the next day.
And by the way, isn't this the same location that in the first 42-minute show that you did, a neighbor's like, I've never seen kids here.
Yes, a man who's been living there for 8 years. Can you find that
clip? It's very important because, and you can tell that guy's just being...
I think the reason why Patrick Bet David keeps relying on clips from the YouTube video instead of just like interviewing the guy is because he very quickly realizes that Nick Shirley is incapable of crafting entire sentences. So he's like, come on, find that clip. I can't listen to you anymore.
Straight up, he's like, no, I've never seen anybody here before. I'll find a time for you, Rob, if you want to look for it.
It's timestamped on my YouTube.
Okay.
Just go to
On your YouTube.
Yeah, go to his
Yeah.
YouTube channel. So
It's about at
What do you guys think that's taking place here in Minnesota?
go to 1630.
I don't think any.
Okay.
and but basically this guy's been living there for 8 years. He's never seen a single child.
Press skip, Rob. To the right. Okay. If you go
About one.
I wonder how Patrick Bet David has been able to avoid the scrutiny from all the like anti-Brown right wingers. I wonder if it's because he mogs. Maybe he's got the halo effect because he's so sexy. So that's the reason why like all the people that like hate Vivek and like Dinesh D'Souza and all the other brown conservatives, they don't really on him that much because he's anti-Iranian. Yeah, but these guys don't think Iranians are. I guess he kind of looks like he could be Italian, you know. But I always assumed that like the Groypers would hate him is because they would have assumed that he's Israeli. Patrick Bet David is the most Israeli name you can have. Like it's not even a question. Like there is not a more Israeli name that you can achieve than Patrick Bet David. So I just always suspected that they would assume he's like. I expected them to say like, oh, he's Jewish, he's Israeli, you know. That's I guess they're all value attained.
And then Rob asked the question, said, if they made a mistake, why'd you put them in the first place? And then they said they went back and they were going to change it.
For 8 years.
For 8 years, they made the mistake and it was going to get changed. But what happened, Rob?
It was too cold outside for them to come.
For 8 years, what? They just didn't give a shit. I don't understand why it matters. Like, yeah, it gets the job done. It's I don't know. I don't even want to defend this one. This is the one that people got mad at me earlier for saying like, I am a little bit sussed out by that one because like there is is it closed or is it not closed type situation going on with the government. But then again, it's utterly irrelevant to whether or not there's children there or like the fraud or